Welcome to the Just Business Podcast. Today on the podcast, we have a very exciting story, something that I didn't think I was going to talk about, but honestly, there's just so much going on in relation to this story, so much information coming out that I think it's an amazing case study for all of us to look at. So I'm going to dive right into it right now, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so for the people who are unaware, who aren't on TikTok or unaware of this story, essentially last week a person on TikTok, a creator, if you will, made a video talking about a terrible tattoo experience that they had with an artist, I believe in Cambridge, Canada, or Ontario, Canada, somewhere in that area. Essentially, what had happened was this client had gone to an artist. They found an artist that they liked on Instagram, reached out to them directly, and started the process. And as the client was going through the process, I want to say there were unexpected turns where they were asked to pay extra fees. There was a design fee, a consultation fee, and on top of also having a tattoo fee. So without getting too far into the story yet, essentially what had happened was there was a whole issue. This person made a TikTok they made a TikTok, a video, and that video went viral. I think it has over 5.5 million views now. There has been thousands and thousands of other videos made about this, but I thought this would be a good opportunity for us to really look into this as a case study, because past the tattooing, the art, and all of the other elements of this story, really what it boils down to is there is fundamental business strategies and tactics here that are just not okay. And I think that we can review them and learn from them so that, we as business owners and other people, people who are potential clients or people who are buying these services can also recognize these things too. So let's just get right into it. I already downloaded the videos, so I'll probably put them up on on the screen here. If you are listening to the podcast, they're primarily audio, but if you do want to view them, you can view them on Spotify or watch our podcast on YouTube if you're not already doing so. So I'm just going to start with the first video. I believe her name is Courtney, who made the original video, and we're just kind of going to go through this and dissect some of the things that she's saying in her first video. And I believe I picked her fourth part of this video. So if you want to hear the whole story, go onto TikTok, look up her page. You'll see it in here, but I'll also link it in the description. Go on her page, watch all of the parts. I'll link all the other videos that we're going to watch so you can go ahead and watch them for yourself as well. But first, I want to start off with the original video because that's kind of where this all starts. So here we go.
So I wanted a tattoo by this artist who I love, who's very talented on Instagram. I guess it was.
Oh, that was the Stitch This segment video. Here's the first video.
Story time. Hopefully one part. I'm going to try to go as fast as I can. So I wanted a tattoo by this artist who I love, who's very talented on Instagram. This is nothing to do with her talent as a tattoo artist, just kind of the business practices that I've dealt with over the last 24 hours. So booked a consult with her a couple months ago. Consult was non-refundable. It was $180. That was listed on her website. That's fine.
Okay, so that's the first part that I think we should probably discuss here really quick. I will be pausing this. So again, if you do want to see the whole thing in full, watch it first and come back, or however you'd like to view this. But the first thing she says there is she booked a consultation fee, non-refundable consultation fee. So, I mean, for me anyway, so for those who don't know, I did work at a tattoo shop. I am semi-familiar with the industry. Besides that, I also worked tattoo conventions, and I've been kind of near the industry for a long time, or for a while now. So I do kind of have some insights as to how that industry works. And as far as I know, I have not really heard of artists, in the majority of artists that have consultation fees or charge for, just sitting down to talk to them. Because at the end of the day, that should kind of be factored into the final price of the tattooing. and kind of to make somebody pay up front just to kind of talk to you, I think is not a good business practice. And also, it seems like you're kind of from the beginning coming off as if your time is very valuable, which for many artists it is, and I agree. But there's that's not the best way to really go about that, and that's not an industry standard. So I would say for people in general who are looking to get tattooed, um, if you do run across or come across an artist that is charging a consultation fee, I think that would be your first red flag right there. But let's go ahead and see what she's saying in the rest of the video.
I paid that. We had a Zoom consult on Friday. I showed her these reference photos as to what I wanted for a half upper arm sleeve. We kind of talked about it a little bit. I said I wasn't really picky on what kind of flowers I wanted.
So just for the people listening again, she showed these two reference photos in the background. They're full foxes, full color, with some flowers and some things of that nature.
I wanted the fox to look like he was running. Foxes were my favorite animal. I said I wanted some watercolor on the fox. The flowers were just going to be whatever she thought would look good. She then proceeded to tell me, after I had already I paid for the consult, she told me that she had these 3 options for her design fee. So she charges a design fee to design her tattoos. So the first option was $1,500 plus tax, and you get a concept sketch, and you can make one minor change and then a final design that you'll review. The option number 2 was $3,500 plus tax, where you got 2 concept sketches and a couple changes and a final design review again. And then option 3 was $6,000 plus tax, where you would get multiple sketches and lots of reviews and lots of changes and like a canvas of your concept.
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna have to pause it there again because that is kind of the craziest part of this whole process. Again, not an industry standard right there. For most tattoo artists, they're gonna charge you either hourly or by the piece or per session. Um, but most artists will never charge for a sketch. I mean, at the end of the day, and you'll see when we get to the rest of this video that like when you're doing a rough sketch of something, it's not really a lot of work. Obviously, you don't want to, as the artist, you don't want to continuously keep sketching and showing and making a ton of revisions, because I agree that can become cumbersome. But to charge $15,000, $2,000, $3,000, $6,000 just to kind of come up with a preliminary sketch of the tattoo is insane. So once again, for people looking to get tattooed, big red flag right there. And another thing that I think I'll address it now, even though I think she mentions it in a later video. She booked the consultation, right? She paid the $180 for the consultation fee. And it was only after she had the consultation or during, I guess you could say, after she paid, that the artist then notifies her about the pricing for the design fee now, right? So prior to the consultation, before she even knew anything, she gave her $180, right? She gave the artist $180. And now she's basically at a crossroads where it's like, well, I've given her $180. I really want this tattoo. And now she's presenting me with more options that I also have to pay for in addition to the tattoo, right? So the issue that I want to bring up here is just really a lack of transparency from the artist, right? So I believe on her website, I will give her credit. She did say that the consultation is paid, but also at the same time, you kind of need to tell somebody that they have to pay for the consultation before they do the consultation. So that's kind of out of necessity. What I would have liked to have seen here is, if you are going to do this, which I don't think anybody should do this, unless you're some crazy artist and you're very open about it. But what you should be doing if you are going to do this is you should be open about it. On your website, aside from the $180 that you list for your consultation fee, those fees should also be up there, right? Those should be available and bolded and mentioned multiple times so that people know before they even book a consultation what they're getting into with you, because that ultimately, that's kind of what's not fair. You paid $180 that you're never going to get back. So now you're kind of more inclined to give the artist your money. There's like a little bit of that sunk cost fallacy, where people will, continue down a road once they've started, because you don't want to lose either the money that you've spent or all the time that you've put into something, by, kind of going back on what you started with. So again, I just think that that was kind of that's not a good business practice. Not only for tattoo industry, for any industry. There really shouldn't be hidden fees that you're springing on people after they've already paid for things. Um, I've noticed similar things in terms of like the construction industry where they have change of work orders. But at least those are somewhat justified by the fact that sometimes you run into things that you weren't expecting, right? These fees were predetermined, and the artist or the business person, if you want to call her that in this sense, knew that she was going to be charging those fees from the beginning, right? So, as a business person, you really have to be upfront with people on what your fees are, what you're charging people, because ultimately, at the end of the day, the biggest failure in this story was communication, right? The artist failed to communicate properly, and we're going to see plenty of more examples as I continue with this story. We're going to see plenty of more examples in ways that she failed to communicate with her client, failed to address the pricing, the design process, and many other parts of this. But ultimately, that's what it comes down to, right? Not being able to communicate properly, not being able to express the fees and all of the things that are included in this process is what got the artist in the situation in the first place, and is what led the client to have an unpleasant experience. So let's continue with her video here.
At first, I kind of thought that that price was going to then be taking it out of the final cost of my tattoo, but then I find out that it was not. I was still kind of blindsided, didn't really know what to say.
Lack of communication.
She asked which option worked best for me. Obviously, I picked number one because it's super expensive. And she had these pictures, so I was confident that she was going to make me a beautiful piece. So Monday rolls around and she sends me this. This is her concept sketch. It is nothing like what I sent her. It's nothing like what I wanted.
Okay, so this, again, sorry if you don't like me pausing, but this is the commentary on this, and if you want to watch the videos in full, go watch those. But this is really where it gets crazy, right? This person paid $1,500 for the concept sketch, right? So that she could review the tattoo. And essentially what she was given in return for that $1,500 is this very, very rough sketch. I almost want to even say, like, I'm not a very artistic person. If you gave me like an hour, I probably could have come up with something at least close to this. This is not really that difficult. And there was actually another video on TikTok. I don't even know where it is. You'll have to find it if you want to see it. Where another artist showed how literally in the 3 minutes that they have on the TikTok video, they showed that they were able to just take a reference off of Etsy and literally sketch it and produce the same exact design as this. So you're talking about 3 minutes of work for $1,500, right? So again, we're not talking here about even an artist getting compensated fairly for their time. At this point, we're talking about something much worse, which is an artist kind of using a client's lack of knowledge about the industry and about the process to their advantage and charging a premium for not a premium product, not a premium service. So yeah, let's keep going with the video.
I emailed her immediately to tell her that I wanted a full fox. I wanted a tail. I wanted the fox to be the main feature. I wanted to be less flowers, more fox forward. And I said, I know I picked option one, but this isn't what I'd asked for with my pictures I sent you. She said that if I wanted another sketch, she was going to charge me the difference between option one and option number two, which is $2,260. She said it was my fault that I wasn't clear that I wanted a full fox.
Okay, so I'm going to pause this here too. To charge a premium, right, for any service, right? If you're charging that premium, part of the additional cost that a client is willing to pay for a service is the ability to have open communication and also a little bit of autonomy within the process of what you're doing, right? So like, for example, with M3 Merch, my business, I charge a premium for the shirts that I'm printing. I am not the cheapest option, right? And I tell people that up front. I let them know, I go, if you're printing 50 to 100 shirts, screen printing is the way to go. It's cheaper, it's more cost effective, and you'll pretty much get a similar result for a cheaper price. And I tell people that. But what I also say, I go ahead and I tell them, right, you're going to have open access directly to me. We're going to go through it. I'm going to print the shirt, and I'll literally be texting back and forth with you as I'm printing the shirt. I'll show you pictures before I go and print the rest of the shirts that we're printing. And I'm providing that service to the client. I'm giving them more control over the process, right? And also on top of that, the print quality is nicer. You have less of a feel than on a lot of screen printing inks. And there's a whole bunch of other factors that I might talk about later that go into that premium pricing structure. But again, it's just to highlight the fact that if you're charging a premium service here, you should never blame the client. You should never blame the client. If you want to say, "Oh, you weren't clear," well, let's flip that. "Oh, well, you didn't ask enough questions. You, as the artist, didn't ask enough questions." If you're charging me $1,500, you should be asking me questions, making sure you have a full picture of a full, understanding of what I'm doing or what I would like, so that you can provide the best possible artwork, right? And that's really where it fails. You can't charge a premium price for not a premium service. That's really what it boils down to here. I'm sure this person has even went on in other videos and mentioned multiple times that I had no problem paying the prices. And even after all of this, she's not even asking for all of her money back. So it had nothing to do with the money, really. What this has to do with is the artist or the business person's inability to essentially make good on what they promised, right? If you're going to charge somebody this premium, you have to provide a premium service.
But like honestly, these are the two pictures I sent her, both full fox, both in the same position. I don't know how much clearer I could have been. She didn't ask if I wanted a full fox. I didn't think I had to say I wanted a full fox. There's gonna have to be a part 2.
So she goes on. She makes I believe there's 4 parts to her videos. I went ahead, and I'm not going to play all of the parts because obviously that would take a very long time. And I some parts were not as relevant to what we're talking about in terms of the business aspect of this story. But I will pull this part from part 4, I believe it was, where she talks a little bit about the artist response, some of the emails that they were sending back and forth. And this is really where things kind of get bad. It really does not look good for the artist here. So let's play this video.
As far as her prices, yes, she is expensive. I do really think that she is a good artist, though. But I don't agree with the way that she's being defensive about her pricing. First of all, she's saying that, like, if I wanted to get tattooed in a grungy basement or biker shop or back alley, then I could do that for a cheaper price. So, I mean, maybe that's where all you guys are getting tattooed. So, I don't know.
Right. So, right there, again, that's what I was talking about. You can see, for people who are listening, she's, responding to somebody who commented on the original video. And she has a screenshot of the email that the artist sent her, essentially making this accusation that if you're not paying an exorbitant amount of money for a tattoo, then you're not going to receive even the slightest of quality of work. You're going to be tattooed in this grungy, dingy, dirty biker shop or a basement or a back alley, somewhere where it's not clean. And she's essentially making this accusation that if you don't pay my premium prices, you're not even going to get anywhere close to a quality piece. And really, once again, this is just not true. From my experience working in a tattoo shop, I worked in Addicted to Ink in White Plains. It's a beautiful tattoo shop, very clean. I believe there's like 12 or 15 stations, and they usually have 10 artists there who are all highly skilled. And, obviously all bloodborne pathogen trained, single-use needles, all that. They take every single possible step to make sure that their clients are safe, and they're not charging these crazy prices. It's typically like $125 to $200 an hour. That's what the artists typically charge, between that range, sometimes more, sometimes less, but they're not charging these consultation fees. They're not charging these design fees. It's literally just the hourly rate of the tattoo. And that's how it should be. That is the industry standard for most shops. Artists will either charge hourly or by the piece, right? And they're not charging $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a tattoo unless they're some crazy artist. Like there's there's, obviously there's outliers and there's anomalies everywhere where there's just, an insane artist who has a crazy amount of demand, and therefore they are able to charge a premium because their work is very sought after, right? That's not the case with this artist. If you go and look at some of her tattoos, they were not good. Like the quality of them was not that good. Um, and furthermore, like even some of her best work is like kind of below average, or maybe at the average rate with like some other artists. Not a premium product. And obviously, based on the way that she's communicating, she's not even providing a premium service in terms of how she's talking and communicating with her client. And again, I think it's really important to highlight here. Not only is she uh, not communicating properly, but she's also being pretty aggressive and nasty towards somebody who paid her money. You would think I'm of the mindset of, your customer service kind of has to be number one for most small businesses, independent artists, whatever you're doing. Your customer service has to be top notch because that's what's going to set you apart from a giant company or a big corporation. I'm not even talking about tattoos anymore, right? When I'm, you know, again, relating it back to my business, when I'm talking to people, I'll talk to you on Instagram. I give out my phone number to my clients so that they can text me if they need to. And I provide that extra level of customer service because ultimately that's what's going to set me apart from, let's say, like a custom ink or just some giant online company that, will print your shirt. And if you have a problem, you're going to have to send an email and wait 3 days and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, I provide a premium service. And part of that is you have access to me. Even if it's a weekend, I respond and still respond to messages at midnight, 1 in the morning if I get them, and that's part of what I do. So for this artist here, this small business owner here, whatever you want to call her, to not only not provide that quality of customer service, but also to be nasty to the client, I think is egregious. And, and we can even see here, there's a second story that ended up coming out. Just another example of this person not being a quality business person, not practicing good business principles and good business practices. And yeah, so I'm gonna show this video. Essentially, what had happened was after the original video with Courtney went viral, there was another creator, I think by the name of Ree, who made a second, a stitch to this, which is essentially just like a follow-up video where she told her story. So let's go ahead. I'm going to pull that up and let's review that story as well.
So I wanted a tattoo by this artist who I love, who's very talented, on Instagram.
I guess it was only a matter of time before somebody else came out with a story about this same artist. So I'm going to share my story about how I was basically scammed out of $4,000 from this same artist. She's in Cambridge. I guess I'll start with, I didn't read the reviews about her. So that's on me, whatever it is. And I don't even know if there were bad reviews at that time because it was actually 2021 that I booked my consult with her initially.
Okay, so I'm actually going to pause that because she brings up the reviews, and this is pretty interesting too. When the first video went viral, people on TikTok started going to the artist's page, going to her business page for the tattoo shop or private studio, whatever she had started there, and they started bashing the reviews. 1 star, 1 star, 1 star. And this person actually was able to successfully get those reviews taken down from Google. So I think that's just important to recognize from a consumer standpoint, right? Because when you're looking for some services, you have to really do your research and look at multiple websites, especially if you're doing something like a tattoo where, that artwork is going to be on you forever. I think it's important to do your research and not only just look up Google reviews, but maybe look up Yelp, look online, try to search their name and see the tags and stuff, because you really can't be too careful with stuff like this. And there are still ways for people to, alter the reviews. I know even on Yelp, like if you pay for, I think it's like Yelp Premium or ads on Yelp, they'll kind of be more willing to take down bad reviews for you, which in my opinion that's not very good. Because if you're providing an honest feedback, then that should be part of that, where, you know, you get the bad reviews are the bad reviews. Sometimes, you know, I get it. I've seen multiple cases where people get bad reviews that are unwarranted. You know, somebody clicks a 1-star by accident, or they're just not paying attention. Um, and that's not fair. But for the most part, if there's an honest review on there, then that should stay up. And for consumers, just kind of beware that there are people who, this artist in particular that we're talking about, who will go above and beyond to kind of get those negative reviews taken down. I will also say there's also the other aspect of it, which I do agree with, where, you know, people saw this video on TikTok, and I don't know if this might not be a popular opinion, but people saw this video on TikTok, right? Then they go to Google and they put in the 1-star review. And I think it is important to kind of look at it from the other side, where it's like, well, you haven't personally received services from this business. So I don't know if it's necessarily fair for you to review them, because you really don't know the full story. Obviously, in no way am I claiming that the original creator was making any of this up. I think there's ample evidence to support this situation in this case. But I think it's important to just recognize that, you know, for people who see videos online now, and go and review and rate stuff that they've never rate a business that they've never ordered from or been a customer of, that is kind of not good. And that's something important for business owners to recognize too. When you are running your business, right now more than ever, with social media and the way that stories spread, and it just takes one TikTok to go viral, right? It's so important to make sure that you're providing, you know, a great customer experience, and also that you're able to clearly communicate with the customer so that you can avoid situations like this, right? For many artists, I think you have to make sure you're documenting the communication that you're having with your clients, for many business owners too, and B, making sure that you're clear in these communications of the process and the pricing and all of that, so that you avoid situations like this where, you know, a story goes out and your business is essentially ruined, right? Now more than ever, it's so important to make sure that you keep your reputation clean, and that you're always providing good quality service and good products to people, so that you can avoid situations like this. So let's get back to the second video here. Let's hear a little bit more about her story.
Actually paid my $180, and yeah, we had a consultation that I wanted my shoulder and up into my collarbone here. So I have birds that I wanted covered. And so she, at the time, she only did phone consults. So over the phone, we discussed the design, you know, floral and that sort of thing. And she quoted me $1,700 for that tattoo, again, going here and up to here. And she said 50% deposit due, so $850. So I e-transferred her the $850. Now, almost immediately after I got pregnant, so we had to postpone. And then when I was not pregnant, she said she had a head injury, so blah, blah, blah. Anyways, appointment time finally comes, and it's December 2022 now, okay? And a few days before the appointment, she calls me to go over the design. And she says, hey, I'm not going to be able to do the birds. Like, I can't cover it with the design, so we're just going to do the shoulder. And I was like,
okay, so I'm going to pause it here. First off, the thing that she just mentioned there, where she's saying she can't cover the birds, that should have been covered in the consultation. You know, especially if you're paying $180 for a consultation, whether it's over the phone, or obviously I understand if she's talking about, like, this was close to the pandemic, so there wasn't really like in-person meetings until the time of the tattoo. But if you're paying $180, part of that consultation, even if you're just doing it over the phone, should be, please send me pictures of the area that you would like tattooed, so that I can review that. It shouldn't have been a day before thing after months and months and months of waiting, that she mentions that essentially this area of the tattoo, or this part of the cover up, can't be done because of the design, right? So again, just another example in a way that she's charging for a service that she's not really providing, right? So if you're actually doing a consultation, part of that consultation is reviewing the area that's being tattooed, and then making sure it's a workable area, right? So that should have been done way in advance.
To go over the design. And she says, hey, I'm not I'm not going to be able to do the birds. Like I can't cover it with the design. So we're just going to do the shoulder. And I was like, well, that's not what we had discussed and what I was quoted. And so I gave some other suggestions about like coming up to my neck and that sort of thing. And she said, if you want to change the design, then you have to pay a whole new consultation. Now, keep in mind, this is right after.
Right. So again, like this is another crazy part of this, right? So they agree on it. She pays the consultation fee. She pays the design fee, right? They agree on what the design should be before it's, actually rendered. And then the artist changed the design in the first place. So she goes ahead and changes what the original plan was. So this should be something that all business people should account for, right? There are exceptions to the rule, and there should be exceptions that are made, especially for policies like this, right? You need to have, policies and procedures, but there needs to also be exceptions. In this case, the artist made the initial change. So even if, let's say, in this hypothetical situation, that we are okay with the fact that she's charging this egregious amount for this sketch, right? Let's say she's okay with that. You charge, everybody's fine. You charge the design fee, the $1,500 or whatever it is for the tattoo, for the sketch. And now you go ahead and sketch it. If you make the change, then you have to amend your policy or make an exception so that the client can then therefore reassess what it is, what the design is going to be, and then also have the ability to make a change or make an adjustment to your change, right? If you're the one who initiates a change in procedure, then you have to allow for the client to be able to approve that as well. That's part of any good business practice, right? If I'm making a shirt, if I'm making, a shirt for somebody, and let's say they wanted a circle, circular design just on the chest, right? And then for whatever reason, I come to the conclusion that we can't do it on the chest. It has to be done somewhere else, right? I need to then notify the client and give them an opportunity to either confirm that that's okay. Let's say I say, oh, well, it has to be lower on the stomach. You have to put the design lower on the stomach of the shirt. I have to notify the client of that, right? And then I have to give them the opportunity to either be okay with that, make an adjustment that's doable, or I should give them the option to get your money back. There shouldn't be this situation where you're essentially locked into either you're doing it my way and you get the tattoo, or you lose all your money, or you have to pay me more money to do it again. That's not how it goes. You didn't fulfill the original service obligation. You didn't actually provide anything for the money that you were paid at that point, and you changed the agreement after the fact, which is not really how this works. Again, horrible business practice by the artist. Something for anybody who owns a business to look out for. Make sure that things will happen. Obviously, let's forgive the fact that she realized that you aren't able to cover this area late. Let's forgive that and just say, like, things do happen. Obviously, maybe you plan to do something, and because of the circumstances of where the tattoo is or whatever that is, right, you're not able to do it, right? That's totally understandable. Again, it's in her response, it's in her communication, and it's in her lack of flexibility in her own procedure that it's really getting her in trouble here. And again, for all business owners, you have to make sure you're flexible. I get it. You need to have policies and procedures. It's important to have those, but you also should recognize that there are exceptions, and sometimes you need to take things case by case basis and realize that, well, this person isn't really trying to like put one over on you, or they're trying to get you to do more work. It's just the fact that the circumstances have changed, and now you should give them an opportunity to also, change the situation. So let's get back to the video.
Right after she changed the design, she said, if I don't like the new plan, I can cancel, and I would lose my $850 deposit. Yeah, she was quite rude. And so obviously I felt completely obligated to go to this appointment. Wasn't going to be a huge tattoo, so it should be able to be done in one day and be out of there and never have to deal with her again. That was not to be. So a couple days later, the appointment comes. I show up at 9 a.m. appointment time. And this lovely human doesn't even start until close to 1 p.m. She tattoos me for 2.5 hours, gets the outline done, and then she says that she has to leave to pick up her kids. I'm going to continue this in part 2.
Right. So that person goes on to continue the video. She explains essentially that, from what I remember, that she was charged the full day rate, even though the artist only tattooed her for 2 hours. So I think it was like close to, another like 1,500 or whatever it was. She was charged a full day, even though she only got 2 hours of work done. And then the artist also said that you can't use your deposit. Your deposit gets taken off of the last session, right? So again, these are all things that the artist is making up on the spot. Again, it's not a good business practice. Obviously, I think it's pretty obvious for most people, but I'll just say it just in case it's not. If you're charging somebody for a day's worth of work, you should provide them with a day's worth of work. It's not okay to tattoo somebody for 2 hours and then leave, right? Or if you are going to do that, then you go, oh, I'm sorry, we weren't able to get more done today. Let me, obviously we're not gonna do a full day rate. I'll only charge you for 2 hours of my time, and we'll do more later, right? So again, you have to be able to be flexible here, and this is kind of where you start towing the line with somewhat of a scam. Right? Like, it is somewhat of a scam. If she mentioned she showed up at 9 a.m. and didn't start getting tattooed until 1, that's on the artist. Again, this is supposed to be a premium service you're providing. You shouldn't be late. If you're providing a premium service, you need to be on time. You need to be on point. The tattoo has to be amazing. The experience has to be amazing. Where the client comes into the shop, they're treated well. Even for these rates, you should be offering them a drink, like not an alcoholic drink. You can't drink when you're getting tattooed, but like, a water or soda or something. You should be offering them some things to make them feel more comfortable, because that's really what this pricing is, right? You can't charge people. Again, I've said it like 1,000 times already, and I feel like I'm just repeating myself, but it's so important. Like, you can't charge people a premium rate if you're not going to give them a premium service or a premium product. That's not how that works. So anyway, this whole fiasco, this whole thing blew up on TikTok, like I mentioned, millions and millions of views, thousands of other videos dissecting this and, talking about some of the issues with the tattoos and people reviewing this artist's old work. And it went crazy. People talking about the tattoo industry as a whole, because I think some people were just unaware that, this really isn't an industry standard. And, for the layman, it was like, is this actually something that's common? And, tattoo artists were responding and they were like, no, this is definitely not how this works. Most tattoo artists are reasonable people. They're good people that just want to provide you with quality artwork and be compensated fairly for their time. And that's totally appropriate, and that's totally okay. So yeah, people were going on, and eventually, because of the magic of TikTok and people doing research and looking into all of this stuff, they found the business coach / I think he's a tattoo artist that originally created this system of charging for tattoos, charging for designs and consultations and all this other stuff. And his name is Russ Abbott. He has this tattoo course, this business course, where he essentially, I guess, teaches artists different techniques on how they should be structuring their pricing and how they should be charging for their work. So people started ripping him apart. They started doing more videos on him and really going after the course that he was selling, because at the end of the day, like, it is true, this course, if you're teaching people to charge these multi-tiered steps or these multi-tier options where you're charging thousands and thousands of dollars, it's like, you're not teaching business courses at that point. You're teaching a scam, because that's really what it is for most cases. There's a very select group of very talented artists that could maybe get away with charging this price for this work. And the artist from the original video is definitely not one of those people. So the Russ Abbott guy started getting ripped apart as well online. He made like an 8-part series, essentially apologizing for all of this and talking about where some of his course was misconstrued. And, it wasn't necessarily his fault. Like, some of the things that he was teaching were misinterpreted and not applied properly. So let's just take a look at the videos that he released, and kind of review some of those too, because I think that's important. Aside from the actual tattoo industry, there's a whole nother part of this that I would love to get into more in terms of like business consultants and business programs and business coaches, right? Like there's this whole industry of people who, like this guy, are going out there and telling people that they're an expert in the field when in fact they're really not. They're creating a generalized program for people, and they're pretty much just selling people the same series of like, video lectures and stuff that aren't really tested. They're very general information that really isn't that applicable. And yeah, it's ultimately it's harmful not only for tattooers, it's harmful for many different groups of business people who buy these courses. It's not something that's positive. So let's go and look at some of his apology video here, and see how he interpreted some of this.
I know a lot of you have been waiting for a statement from me regarding the viral TikTok videos being dubbed Tattoo Gate. First, allow me to start off by apologizing to the client who posted the original video. You paid for a service you expected and did not receive. That is not something that I or anyone in the tattoo community stands for. I am sorry. I've made it my mission to seek solutions to problems with pricing models in tattooing. We've surveyed hourly pricing rates and received incredible responses from artists who were curious about trends and looking for guidance.
Okay, so first off, the thing that I'm going to mention with this like apology video, the whole time he's like reading off of some sort of like teleprompter in the back, and it's very weird and very robotic. Like the people who were responding to the video and commenting below it were picked up on this pretty quickly. It doesn't seem genuine at all, because I don't think it is really, because at the end of the day, like if somebody is genuinely sorry about something, and they want to provide like a fair apology or a genuine apology to someone, you can just make the video. If you're doing a video, you just make the video and you speak from the heart. You shouldn't have to create some sort of like script that you're essentially reading off of. It kind of comes across as almost lazy and kind of insincere. But aside from that, now he's talking about how we made this course because tattoo artists were curious and looking for guidance. But I mean, listen, I don't know how true that is. I don't want to, project where this guy's mindset actually was when he developed this course or whatever. But based on the, some of the information that's come out about this course and the way that he responded to this, I find it very hard to believe a lot of the stuff that he says. It just doesn't really seem that genuine to me anyway.
Studying how pricing for creative services is approached outside of tattooing allowed me to envision refinements and adjustments to current pricing models that can solve some of these problems. This led me to the design collapse model. In typical tattoo pricing models, clients requesting early concept sketches and revisions is usually counted as extra work and is carefully avoided by most tattoo artists because a lengthy design process isn't included in the price for the tattoo.
Okay, here's where I think he's wrong, right? Or he's right in some senses, but he's also wrong. A lengthy design process really shouldn't, that's not an issue of pricing. When you're talking about an artist who's creating a design, right? A lot of the times the design is, if it's a custom piece, right? Like obviously, yes, it takes time to create that, to formulate that. Maybe you're going through and you're sketching different, if it's a person or some sort of animal, you're sketching different poses. You're trying to create, compose something that looks visually appealing. But where I think he's wrong here is he goes, it isn't included in the price of the tattoo. And that's not true, right? Because that is your hourly rate. When you charge somebody the hourly rate for the tattoo, you should also factor in some of the time that it took beforehand to prepare the tattoo, right? You need to factor in your materials. So if somebody is charging, let's just say, for example, $125 an hour for a tattoo, right? And let's say materials for a tattoo are $50, and you think it's going to take you 2 hours to sketch the design and create the design beforehand, create the stencil. Those should be things that you're factoring into the price, right? If you're $125 an hour and whatever you get off of that is not enough for that amount of work, you're the artist who's creating your hourly rate. If you're not getting paid enough, then you just need to increase your hourly rate. And at the end of the day, you also do have to recognize that this is a business and there is a consumer. So part of the pricing structure, when you look at supply and demand, that's what dictates price in economics, right? So you have to recognize that your supply, right? You have to kind of judge where you are as an artist in terms of quality of work. Obviously, if you're a top tier artist who does high quality work, then you're at a much lower supply, right? Because there's a ton of artists who do low quality work or very bad work. But if you are able to market or position yourself as something that's in low supply and higher demand, then you're able to raise your price, right? But it's not just to say that, I don't feel like I'm getting paid enough for the work that I'm doing, and I don't want to take the time to do the sketching, right? That's included in it. And also, again, the issue at hand is really that a lot of this stuff was not mentioned up front. It has nothing to do with the way that she's pricing, right? If you, all right, let's say just for the devil's argument or whatever, devil's advocate, let's say we're gonna say that this is okay, right? It's fine if you want to charge somebody and you're gonna say, I take my time charging for to carefully curate the design for you. I'm gonna create the sketch and give you opportunities to change it, right? So that's why I charge a design fee, right? But you need to have that open line of communication from the beginning. You need to be able to say, here's the industry standard. Most people just charge hourly. I'm a little bit different. I charge for the design as well as the tattoo. Here's the pricing structures for those. Here's from A to Z. Here's the process that includes. Here are the opportunities for you to be a part of that process or not be a part of that process. You don't get to make somebody pay $180 for a consultation first and then you spring it on them after the fact. Oh, also, by the way, I'm going to make you pay for the designs and also the tattoo itself and all of this, right? So you don't really get to do that. I don't think. So let's kind of get back to the video here and see what it has to say.
It's also not included in the price of your deposit. That is to book time the artist could otherwise be spent tattooing another paying client. Otherwise, they may not end up getting paid that day.
Okay, again, so he's going to go on. It's like 8 parts. I'm going to show you in one other part, but if you want to see all of that, go on to his page. I believe his Instagram is just Russ Abbott, RussAbbott. You can hear the whole video, all 8 parts in full there. But just to reiterate, the issue, I agree, like an artist should be paid fairly for their time. The issue is not that you had this structure, really. It's the way that it was communicated. It's the way that it was shown to the client, and it was the way that it was not shown to the client. Again, like you don't need this complex pricing structure, right? It's pretty simple. If you're charging an hourly rate and you're not getting paid enough for the time that you're putting into your tattoos, you feel like you should be paid more. You feel like I have all of these extra clients. I'm so booked that I can't even get more people in. Then you can start to raise your rate, right? Then you can go, oh, well, I'm at a very high demand right now. And, now it might be justified to raise my rates a little bit because my time is now at a premium and I, should be paid more for that time, right? There's this idea, I think, that goes around, especially for a lot of creative people that think just because, you're an artist and you create something that you should automatically be rewarded for that right away, right? And I don't think that's true. While I agree that artists should be paid fairly for their time, I think you also have to factor in, especially in, a capitalist system like we have here in America, you have to factor in that there's market factors, market conditions that also go into what people are willing to pay for your work. And this applies again to all businesses. I charge around $20. Well, okay, so it varies, right? So I usually charge between $16 and $20 per shirt for like a single-sided print. There are screen printers that will print a shirt for around like $8 or $9, sometimes cheaper. But there's also there's many factors that go into that price. And there's also the fact that if you're doing screen printing, you're paying for setup fees and other things that go into that'll affect that price per shirt. And you're also very limited in what you're able to print. You can't really print like a full color realistic image on a shirt the way that I can. Um, so I'm offering something at a premium because there's a premium product that you're getting in return. There's a premium service that you're getting in return. Like I mentioned before, that customer service, that's the element that is important that allows me to charge that premium. And for people for artists specifically to think that, oh, well, just because I'm an artist and it's something creative and I get, it's kind of subjective that I get to basically name my price, that's also not necessarily how it works. And I think a lot of artists also recognize that. So again, this has to do with the issue of, I think, like business coaches or, in this case, a tattoo coach or something, a tattoo business coach, really applying a very general system or a general solution to something that is very um, independent in the way that it's applied, right? So you have this general system where you're like, oh, just use this tiered pricing model where you charge 3 tiers for a design fee, and then you charge for your tattoo, and then you charge for a consultation. And it's like, well, now you have this artist from Canada who comes in. She's really not that good. She doesn't have the skills, probably doesn't really have the demand to be doing this, but she's doing it anyway. And then you just come across somebody who's unassuming, like the client in the first video, Courtney, somebody who's unassuming, not too familiar with the industry as a whole, and more so just interested in the artist's work, who essentially gets kind of scammed out of her money for not being totally aware of the typical pricing structure. And that's where this kind of becomes an issue. Where all of this is really to kind of highlight something that I think is important for many business owners to recognize when they're running their business, right? Because they're like this Russ Abbott guy, there are thousands of other business coaches that will be out there, right? They're going to make you all of these promises like, I'll get you 10x your revenue if you do this 5-week course and you do, this startup program and blah, 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 blah. It's just not true in many cases. Like a lot of these courses are total crap. Like it's just a series of like Zoom lectures that were pre-recorded, and now you're going to sign in every week. You listen to the recording, and then, that's it. There's your big lesson for the day. You take away what you take away. Or it's just somebody who's maybe doing like a one-to-one call with you, but they're not very knowledgeable about your specific business. They might have some general business knowledge, but when you're talking about many small businesses, you need to be acutely aware of the situation that you're going into. For me, like I would love to one day actually be like a small business consultant and help people grow their business. But the reason why I haven't already started doing that is because I don't feel like I'm in a position yet to help people. Because you need to have experience running a small business, which many of these people do not. And B, you should have the experience working with other small business owners in like a non-direct consultant way to actually know what works and what doesn't work. And I think a good example of this is like when you're talking to anybody, right? Like any form of coaching. A lot of what these coaches have done, what they will do is they'll just kind of like start you off in this course and like, okay, this is week 1. We're going to do X, Y, and Z. But it's like, there shouldn't be a week 1, just right from the jump, you start and you jump in. If you're really going to provide somebody with accurate advice for their business, you need to take like a week or 2 just asking questions, just going, how did you start this business? What are the goals, right? Like, what is the culture here? Let me show up to your business for a day and observe some of the standard practices. Let me actually learn the business in your specific case before I go ahead and give you advice on how you can change it. Because ultimately, if a person is not doing that, then they're not providing you, or in most cases, they're not providing you with accurate advice. And perfect example here with this whole situation, Tattoo Gate, whatever you want to call it. This Russ Abbott guy had a general course. He sent it out or made it available to artists to pay for or whatever. And now every artist thinks that they're at the level where they can charge $1,500, $6,000 for a sketch. That's not the case. That's not how that works, right? I'm sure like, maybe not him, but if I were coaching this artist in the first place, I would literally go there, and just take a look at, in this specific situation, you have to look at the quality of work. I would look at how many clients she's getting every week, how many potential clients she could be getting every week. You need to see, like, is she even at a point where her work is in a high enough demand to justify charging these prices? Because if you actually did the research and looked into her tattoo studio and her business as a tattoo artist, I'm sure you would have realized that this is really not a feasible option for her at this time. And that's really what it boils down to, you know? And I think it's important, again, for business owners to recognize this. You should realize that if you see a business course online, you have to be super skeptical of it. You know, I am always super skeptical of anybody. I think I mentioned this in the last podcast. Anybody that says like they have like this key to all of your problems, or they have the perfect system that's going to work perfectly for your business. That's not the case. That's not the case. If anybody's selling you a pre-made system, it's probably not going to be too tailored to you. Like you can go to, I don't know, Joseph A. Bank or whatever, and get a generic suit off the rack, right? But that's never going to fit as it would if you got a properly tailored suit, right? It's not going to be as comfortable. It's not going to be tailored to your specific body. And the same thing applies with a business. If somebody's selling you a generic course, it's never going to apply to your specific situation, and it's never going to actually be an optimal solution to the problems in your business. And I think, again, very important for people to recognize. And if there was anything that we're going to take away from this whole situation, it's really the fact that not only clients, but business owners, you have to be skeptical. You need to scrutinize the businesses and the people who are providing you with these services and providing you with these products. Whether you're a client looking to get tattooed, you need to be skeptical of your tattoo artist, and you need to make sure you're doing accurate research and making sure that you're well aware of the process that goes into this and the pricing. And if you're a business owner who's looking for coaching or looking for, some sort of consulting where you want to expand your business or get some advice for your business, you need to make sure that that person, A, has experience, preferably has experience in your industry, and C, is somebody who has results, somebody who's able to actually provide results and not promise, but, essentially have some faith. You're able to have some faith in that person that they're able to do something good for your business. So again, this whole thing happened last week. It was super crazy. I was like on TikTok watching all of the updates and seeing videos and new stitches of everything. And it was wild to like see this all happen. I actually caught the video pretty early. There was only like, I think 100,000 views on it or something when I saw it. And I was sharing it to like Chris and all of the tattoo artists that I work with. And they were even saying like, this is crazy. And then to see it like blow up, 5 million views, all of these other, people making reaction videos to it and all the tattoo artists stitching it. It's really crazy to see the way that this story has exploded. And I think I'm so happy. I mean, I'm not happy that this happened. Obviously, I wish these, the two clients in this situation were not essentially scammed out of their money. But I think it is a great opportunity for all of us to really look at business practices in a general sense, and then kind of reapply them and synthesize that information into something that applies to our business, because that's really what's important here. That's what this podcast is about, providing information to people, to business owners, so that they can accurately, kind of assess their business and take some general skills and general information. And then, you yourself can kind of synthesize that and apply that as you see fit. So again, really crazy stuff here. I'm not sure how many more podcasts I want to do in this independent style. So please let me know if this is something that you guys are enjoying, or if it's not something you enjoy, because I would love to also get back to the interviews. I love hearing from business owners and hearing their stories and sharing their stories. So I definitely do want to hear more of those. And guys, if you are listening to this and you know a business owner, somebody who would be great on the podcast to interview, please recommend them. Send me their Instagram, send me their contact information so that I can reach out to them if I need to. And let's get some more people in here. Let's keep sharing these small business stories. Let's keep learning together and growing this community. I'm super happy that I have this opportunity and that I started this podcast, and I hope you guys are getting some information and getting some knowledge out of this as well. It's either, whether it's just entertainment or information that you guys are getting from this. I hope it's all, really something that you guys enjoy. As always, thank you for listening. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. I think you can follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. So please just do all of that. Hit the like button, hit all the stuff, share it with your friends, please. That would greatly help. Get the word of the podcast out there and get some more people looking at this. Because I think, the more people we have, the more community that we have here, we can grow it. And it really benefits everybody. So I'm super grateful to all of you. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.